All right, welcome everyone. It is 5:30. We'll go ahead and get started by calling this policy committee meeting to order. Ms. Shope, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Greg Schneider,
Present.
Megan Miller, and Amy Levy.
Here.
All members are present except Megan Miller.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for the approval of this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. That brings us to our minutes from our previous month's meeting. That's January 10th. Is there a motion for the approval of those minutes?
So moved.
Second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. That brings us to the start of our agenda work this evening. We will do as we normally do and handle them in number groupings. So the first policies that we will look at are what are currently labeled as policy 453.3 and rules 1 and 2, which have been collapsed into one policy. Is someone able to project that policy onto the screen in case anyone needs that? Perfect. Dr. Garrison, excuse me, while we're doing that, this was reviewed at our January 10th meeting, and the reason it's back in front of the committee today is because the committee in policy 453.3 Rule 1, item 2E, readmission, talks about the complaint process. So if someone wants to appeal a suspension due to a communicable disease, they can use the district's complaint process. The issue is, and Ms. Babilius, correct me if I'm wrong, if someone was going to be placed out of school because of communicable disease, it'll probably be 2 weeks or less. Is that accurate?
Correct.
The complaint process could take excess of 30 days. So in essence, we're offering people a remedy that's just not realistic. So does the administration want to give us any updates on that?
Sure. So we did reach out to legal about that thought, and legal did advise us that to have something in the policy is still probably the best way to go. They weren't really sound on the thought of a time frame, 30 days. This is what legal was able to share with me. 5 was the most, I should say. Miss Shope did help me with reaching out to legal, and we did receive a memo from legal as it pertains to some of that thoughts. I was going to read that into the conversation tonight. I didn't ask Mrs. Shope to project that thought, though, but is that something that you can do at all right now, Ms. Shope?
Probably not while you're projecting the policy.
I said correct.
I'm sorry?
Probably not. She said probably not right now while you're projecting the policy, but
Right.
yeah. But overall, it's still up to us to determine the time frame in a nutshell.
This may sound harsher than it is meant, so I want to lead with that. That sounds non-helpful because we're still back where we started. If a student could be asked to stay out of school for, let's say, 2 weeks, and I get every situation is slightly different, and we say you can appeal this by using the district's complaint policy or process is the word I'm looking for. But if that could take in excess of 30 days, you're not allowing people to appeal it. So we either need a process with a shortened time frame, or we need to take that out of the policy. And it was my understanding the admin was going to check with legal to say, is it okay to not have an appeal process for this situation?
They suggested we still have something in place.
Okay, then we need to create something new because what we have in place is not actionable.
If I may,
Absolutely.
legal counsel said that he couldn't find anything that required us to have a process.
To appeal a decision
Correct.
Okay.
There's no law or anything that says you have to have an appeal process. He said if you wanted to have an avenue for parents to ask questions or get clarification or find out why you wanted, something, why they were being put out for X number of days or something, if they didn't have a clear understanding, then you might want to have a process where, like, within 5 days, they have to contact you and ask questions, and within X number of days, like 5 days, you have to respond to their question. But there's nowhere that it says you have to have a process.
Okay, so this is where I'm at, and I want to hear from Board Member Schneider. To me, I think that's just good practice. Clarifying a decision for a parent or guardian is totally different than offering an appeal process. And I think we should always be willing to clarify. And I'm a bit uncomfortable with saying you have to reach out to us within 5 days and then we have to, like, if someone has a question, we should just make time in our schedules to get back to them in a reasonable amount of time. So if we can all agree that that is just good practice, that we don't have to enshrine in policy, that would be great. Is the administration comfortable with not having an appeal process, or would you prefer to create a condensed process for this type of situation?
There's nothing in state statute that says you must have an appeal process, and most likely because of what you just explained, the timeline.
I got it.
I could not find any other school districts that had an appeal process for communicable disease policy. I did look at our family handbook, and there's language in the family handbook that states, should you have questions or concerns regarding exclusions from school as a result of a communicable disease, please contact the Director of School Health. And I think we feel comfortable with that. We would defer to Dr. Garrison.
The 5-day space, I mean, that does seem like it's a long time, but I guess that's within reason. This was a tough one for me because I haven't looked at it that way until the question was prompted. So I'm just trying to work my brain through how this could actually work. Maybe we don't need it.
I don't know that we can allow somebody back in school if the health department says you must stay out.
And
I
again,
don't know if,
and I don't even know what that would look like, because I know that staff members wouldn't want to be in the same room to even have that discussion with someone who has a communicable disease that's going to put them at risk as well, which is probably why a lot of districts and legal do not have that in there, because who would sit with this person with a communicable disease to discuss if they can come back to school or not?
I hear that, but I just want to be clear with respect to policy. So the question for the administration, as I see it, we have two options. We can either remove mention of the appeal process from the policy, or the administration can construct a process similar to the one we have for all other complaints, but it would be condensed enough that it would be a reasonable match for the time a student would be out. So Dr. Garrison, what is your preference?
I think we should remove it.
Okay. Board Member Schneider, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So Ms. Shope, thank you for projecting that on the screen. If you can go to, okay, so let me back up. We are collapsing rules 1 and 2 into policy 543.3. If we can go to where 543.3 Rule 1 starts with educational and preventative measures, and just use the title of that old policy as the header. So let's just walk our way through it. Ms. Shope, did that make sense? Okay, perfect. So we'll insert that header. It looks like all of the things that we discussed have been included. I'm going to scroll to where policy, where Rule 2 would start. And that one, the header should be pandemic preparedness, which, as I'm scrolling down, We see that there. And then the only other thing that we needed to make sure that we added was the cross-referencing of policy 723.41. Because we talk about emergency school closing, I think it makes sense to reference that policy because it deals with school opening/reopening during a public health crisis.
Excuse me, did you say 723.1?
723.41.
0.41, thank
Yep,
you.
no problem. If we can just cross-reference that. All right, so now we will, I think the final step in this is to return to what was originally 453.3 Rule 1, E2. Readmission. Okay, and it looks like 2 is already crossed out, so we should be good. Board Member Schneider, with all that we've covered, do you have any more edits or questions to what will now just be policy 453.3, but includes the information from rules 1 and 2?
I have no other questions or concerns.
Perfect. All right, is there a motion to approve policy 453.3 as amended, and also to retire policies 453.3, rules 1 and 2, and to pass that on to the full board for a first reading?
So moved.
Second. Is there any further discussion?
One thing, I did add, and where it says communicable disease chart,
Yes.
that was listed throughout all 3 of these policies.
Yep, we see it's cross-referenced at the bottom.
Okay,
Yep.
so I want to make sure that.
No, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure you know.
Perfect. All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Okay, that brings us to 453.31 and 453.31 Rule 1. So let me, and it looks as though everything is stricken.
Before you move forward, if I may,
please.
can I just show you on the screen quick? This is where that attachment is for that chart.
Yep.
And so somebody can just click right on it and it'll open up. So it's right down by the cross references.
That is perfect.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I know you had moved on, but I couldn't get my mic on fast enough.
Everybody's okay. We're good. All right. So as we're looking at these 2 policies, they are stricken out. So if the administration, let me ask this, is it's stricken in its entirety because that information is going to be contained somewhere else? Or is the messaging that we no longer need to include this information in policy?
We no longer need to include this information in policy. It'd be treated like any other communicable disease.
Okay, so there are no different rules that apply.
Correct.
Perfect. If we could add a note to that in board docs so people understand why it's being recommended to be retired, and then moving forward, if there's ever a policy that is going to be retired without having that content moved to a different space, if we could just provide a rationale for that so that makes sense to anyone who's following along. All right, Board Member Schneider, excuse me, do you have any objections to that?
I have no objections to that.
All right, is there a motion to move to retire policy 453.31 and rule 1 of that policy?
So moved.
All right, second, is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. That brings us to policy 453.32, control and treatment of head lice/nits in schools. Board Member Schneider, it's 2 pages. We'll take both of them together. Do you have any edits or questions for this policy?
No, I just agree with the changes that administration has recommended for it. I have no other concerns or questions.
Perfect, thank you. If we're looking at policy 453.32, halfway down that first added paragraph in green, right before a head lice infestation, there's just like an extra space there. If we can go ahead and delete that. And unless anyone objects, under 2, all right, can we change the the ordering, like we have 1, 2, 3, but then we have 1, 2 after it. Can we just do bullet points there? Ms. Shope, what's our standard numbering? So we can be
Typically,
consistent.
if the policy starts with like capital letters, then we switch to numbers, then we go to small alpha, and then we go to Roman numeral I's. So I can make that happen unless somebody specifically wants bullet points, we can do
Nope,
that
I just want
too.
us to be consistent.
Yep.
Yep,
We
thank
can- I
you
can
so
fix
much.
that.
Perfect. So what is currently 2-2, unless there are objections, if we could change that language to be consistent with our committee practice of his, her, their. Are there any objections in the room?
Nope.
Perfect. And then, under if the student is found to have head lice, number 1, the last sentence, the student will return to the classroom. If we could strike through that B. I think we're good with that. Yeah, I am on, if the student is found to have head lice, that header, number 1, the last sentence, we have an extra B there. So the student will return to the classroom. All right. Hearing no other edits or questions, is there a motion to approve policy 453.32 as amended to the full board for first reading?
So moved.
Second, is there any further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. That brings us to policy 453.4 and the rule 1 of that. Our standard practice in committee has been to collapse the rules into the policy. This was last reviewed in May of last year, and if memory serves me correctly, the administration felt that it made sense to keep those administering medication procedures separate. Is that still the view of the administration? All right. With that in mind, Board Member Schneider, do you have any edits, in keeping in mind that we just reviewed this May of last year for policy 453.4 or rule 1 as it is separated?
Right. As I look at 453.4, paragraph 5, that starts with students with asthma may possess and self-administer a metered dose or dry powder inhaler with the written approval of a licensed practitioner, comma, parent/guardian. I think there should be an and.
Is that our practice? Do you need permission from
Yes.
both?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, good catch. So we'll change that comma to and. Anything else, Board Member
That's it.
Schneider? All right, I don't have any additional edits either. Is there a motion to move policy 453.4 and rule 1 remaining separate to the full board for a first reading?
So moved.
Point of order?
Yes.
You'd made no revisions to the rule, so it wouldn't have to go forward.
Well, there was a minor, like a grammatical, are we under the wire, so that won't need to move forward? Grammatical errors are fine?
Okay, so
not
the
error, but
rule
change.
didn't have any change. The grammatical change with the and
Was in point 4?
the policy.
Okay,
Correct.
so
However, if you wanted to consider it a minor revision, you can just instruct me to fix it because it's more of a grammatical error that's not changing the intent of the policy.
I definitely consider that a minor change. Board Member Schneider, do you
I agree.
concur? All right, we're going to leave that off the consent agenda. We are good.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's fine. Or you can send it to the board too. I'm not telling you not to.
No, we're good. Thank you so much. All right, that brings us to policy 453.3, and we will also review the rule of that policy. So before we dig in, is anyone opposed to merging the rule with the current policy?
That's a question. real quick.
Absolutely.
So when I was looking at this set, I feel like, and this is just me thinking, 453.6.
Oh, we're not there. We're
I
at
know.
453.4.
See me out for one.
All right, all right.
We just did 453.4.
Oh, 453.5. Yep.
So, yeah, these are all about division, exam.
And for those playing along at home, let me give some context, and then Dr. Garrison, the floor is yours. 453.5 and its rule talks about student physicals, dental, and kindergarten eye exams. 453.6 and the rule talks about vision and hearing screening programs. Ms. Babilius, so let's back up. Is there a reason to keep those separate?
No.
No? Okay.
Let me just add this thought. real
Yep.
quick. So 453.6 it tells what we are doing. It shows what we are doing. I feel like when I'm reading these in order, I feel like this one makes sense to be first in that vision space. It's like, here's what we're doing, and then just in case you didn't know, here's other things. These other ones fall in line to me better. That makes sense.
Not entirely, but we can get there. So what I believe will make sense to have happen is that 453.5 and the rule will be combined. 453.6 and the rule will also be combined. Are you saying, so it'll then be 453.5 and 453.6? Are you saying to do an additional combination and we just have 453.5 and we retire the rule and then 453.6 in that rule?
I think that makes more sense to me.
Okay, we can do that. Board Member Schneider?
I'm fine with that.
I don't see why we can't do that.
We can do anything.
Okay, then.
I just wanted to make sense. All right, so we have gone from 4 policies and rules to 1 when we get done with this. And it sounds like what you want to do is move the order. So this will now be known as 453.5. And so let's name it. Ms. Shope, are you good? No. Okay. Here's where we're at. Okay. We're going to do a double combination because we're that good. Okay. All right. So typically, we would combine 453.5 Rule 1 and roll it into 453.5. We're going to do that. Yep. We're going to do the same for 453.6 in the Rule 1. Okay. And then we're going to combine both of those. All right, everybody's fine. It will now be known as 453.5, and we need to name it. And what I would recommend being consistent is that the current names for the 453.5 Rule 1, 453.6, and the Rule 1 of that are the headers for the information that's under that. Does that make sense to everyone? Look at us. All right, so we need a name for 453.5. It is currently student physical, dental, and kindergarten eye exams.
Yeah, I didn't get that far.
Oh, well, that's fine. We're in this together. So I would like to streamline that because we don't have to give everything away in the title. People can read the policy. How about student physical, dental? Okay, let me ask this. Is there a difference between a screening and an examination?
Yes.
Okay, that is important. So student physical, comma, dental, comma, vision screenings and examinations. It's not the prettiest, but does that capture in a succinct way what this policy is going to cover? Does anyone object to that, or I'm not married to it? If you have a better idea, unmute.
I'm fine with it.
All right, Ms. Shope,
I have a suggestion,
I'm listening.
because I didn't hear you say the word vision, and that's in one of the titles. And
Well, I put I.
is the eye exam only in kindergarten?
Oh,
No.
listen.
No, it's
Okay.
dental and, oh, yep, kindergarten eye exam. Okay, so,
So what if you said,
But if we're combining all of them, it'll be vision for everybody, so.
okay, so what if you just said student physical examinations and screenings? It's a little more general, but then, like you said, all the specifics will be laid out in sections within the policy.
Like I
Is
said,
that
I ain't
too
get that far.
general?
I am not opposed to that. Does anyone have, that's what it is. So our new mega policy is going to be 453.5, and the title is student physical, student physical, did you say dental? Examination and screenings? Student physical examination and screenings. That's it. Everybody okay?
I didn't hear you say physical, but now I do, so.
Student physical examinations and screenings.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't get that far, so.
Physical,
I didn't want
comma.
to change it to one, so.
Last call.
Are you saying student physical, comma?
Yep.
Examinations and screen?
And screenings. You good?
Yeah.
Michelle, you okay? You said yeah?
Yeah, I said yes, sorry.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Awesome. Got it, Ms. Shope? Perfect. All right. Now, with that in mind, when we do our edits, we're going to look at the spaces they're currently in, knowing that they will be combined, just to keep everybody on the same page. All right. So we are looking at what is formerly just 453.5. Any questions or comments, Board Member Schneider?
No, I am okay with this.
Okay. I just have one question. So, I think we should start, just for consistency of language, with the School District of Beloit acknowledges instead of it is acknowledged. That just seems very passive, unless anyone objects. So we would start the paragraph with the School District of Beloit acknowledges. At the end of that sentence, his, her, their. And then that second paragraph, the second sentence, it says, a student who complies with the request. We need to change that to parent or guardian, because the kindergartner is not complying with the request to go get a dental exam. And then the question that I have is, when a request is sent out, like, when does that happen and what does that look like? And to provide context, let me find it. Physical and dental examination shall be requested for students in kindergarten, 4th, and 9th grades, and for all incoming new students. The cost of such examination shall be borne by the student's parent/guardian. So when we make those requests, when do those happen, and what does that look like?
Really, we just send a notification. It's in the student health handbook that all kindergarten is requested per state statute. That's how it is in the state statute as well. Like, they recommend all kindergarten students get an eye and dental exam. So we don't, like, personally, like this, we don't, like, pick which student. It's just like all kindergarten.
No, and I didn't think you picked, but that feels very passive. And I hope every parent or guardian is reading that handbook thoroughly. In the event that that doesn't happen and you miss the passive request, is there, like, in January, we work on, there's a brush your teeth unit or announcement, and we send out, like, reminders, like, hey, we think it's a good idea for these reasons to get a screening. Does anything more active happen, or is it just listed in the handbook?
So it is just listed in the handbook. However, we do have SELISMA that comes 3 times a year. So in those, when we're promoting that information, we do also recommend put the recommendations in there. And then the same for the vision, because we have Lions Club come in and screen all of our kindergarten, 1st, and 3rd graders. We put that in there as well about the benefits of getting an eye exam.
Perfect. And does that, and this is just my curiosity, does not need to be enshrined in policy. Is there a regular cadence? Like in the spring, Seal a Smile happens in the fall. Just for my edification, please, what is that cadence?
So for the Lions Club, they come in the wintertime, and then for Seal a Smile, they come 3 times a year.
Oh, okay.
Winter and spring, yeah.
That's why policy 453.6 to me.
We're going to get there. Hold on to it. All right. Okay, so what is currently 453.5? We have the edit with how we're going to open with School District of Beloit acknowledges. We have his, her, their, and we are changing the student who complies to the parent/guardian. Ms. Shope, did you get those 3? Okay, and then my final question with that is, why is there a deadline for a voluntary act? It says, which will now be changed to a parent/guardian who complies with the request shall provide evidence of an eye examination evaluation by December 31st.
That's what it specifically says in the state statute as well. They are the ones who make the December 31st why, I could not tell you, but that is the legal language in the state statute.
Got it. All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, we are moving to what is currently known as 453.5 Rule 1. Board Member Schneider, any edits or questions?
I have not.
All right. Fun fact, number 1 under kindergarten eye exam kind of tickled me. We're sounding a little bit like Ohio State. Eye exam forms are available from the School District of Beloit Health Office. That was adorable. All right, moving on to 453.6. Dr. Garrison, you want me to come to you first? All right.
So as I read the policies, I think about what we do for others, and in this space, here's where I believe, to me, it sounds like we lay out more of kind of what we do, and then the other policies explain what we want. So I'm not saying it's my recommendation, but to me, it feels better if this was probably somewhere first. Again, just because this is what we do versus this other stuff is what we want. So, I don't know.
So, Dr. Garrison, if it's not a recommendation, I'm moving on. If it is a recommendation, we will happily consider it.
Not a
How
recommendation.
strongly do you feel about this?
I don't feel too strong about anything. I just want to make sure that people know that this is more what we do.
Okay.
Versus the other policies, what we want.
Are there any language changes you want to submit to provide emphasis? And you can think about it, and I can come back to
Sure,
you.
since it's in the middle of the policy, I feel like we should draw attention to this portion of the policy, letting people know that here's what we do. I don't know. 'Cause it's gonna be-
Okay, I
it's gonna
feel
be
like
in
we're
the
having-
middle. It's gonna be in the middle because it's all combined now. And people might not get to it, you know. That's what I'm thinking.
I feel like we're having two different conversations. I hear the words that are coming out of your mouth. But in the second conversation, I feel like you are saying, this is amazing and we need to toot our horn. Is that accurate? Or did I miss the mark?
No, you're not missing the mark. I just think we
Okay.
need to bring it to the forefront. I don't know how we do that.
Here's what I'm going to ask you. Is it possible that we take this amazing information and toot our horn outside of policy?
Oh, of course, yeah.
All right. We good?
That's fine, too.
Perfect. Board Member Schneider, any questions or comments, edits for 453.6?
No, I have none.
Okay. I just have some clarifying. When we, at the beginning of what's going to be our mega policy, we are very clear, this is what we are recommending. It is at the family's expense. When it comes to vision, it says School District of Beloit will collaborate with outside resources to offer mass and individual vision and hearing screening opportunities for the following students. And then it lists them. Is there a cost to students? No?
No.
Okay. I do think it would make sense to add that since we talked about cost earlier. Is anyone opposed to that? Is it possible that that would change and we would have a fee? Okay. What language is the administration comfortable with? So the School District of Beloit will collaborate with outside resources to offer mass and individual vision and hearing screening opportunities at no cost to families for the following students. Is anyone opposed to that, or you think it should go somewhere else?
I would say that right there at the beginning, at no cost to families.
Okay, for the following students.
Hold on, so
Yep, Ms. Shope, did you get that?
Can I just add one thing?
Absolutely.
In the case of a student who has an IEP
Yep.
and there is screening involved in the evaluation process, we don't charge the family. However, we do bill Medicaid and the district is reimbursed.
I think we're still okay because
Okay.
we say at no cost to the family. And if
Feel good
I'm a parent reading policy, like you can bill whoever you want. If it's not me, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what I
just
want to
wanna
know
make
about. Is
sure.
the bill coming to me?
Yep, no.
All right. No, but thank you for providing that context. That's important. All right. The third bullet point under vision screening, students at all grade levels who are referred by teachers, other staff members, and parents. That reads to me like it has to happen from all three entities. in order to get that vision screening. Is it and, or do we really mean or? So I'll read it again. Students at all grade levels who are referred by teachers, other staff members, and parents for suspected or known vision impairment. Or, perfect. All right, so if we could change that, Ms. Shope. And then the same thing in the second bullet point under hearing screening. And then with rule, and let me just pause to make sure that we've been transitioning. So at the start of what is currently 453 point rule 1, where it says physical and dental examinations, right above that, we'll use the former title as the header. And then that physical and dental examinations will be a subgroup under that, and then kindergarten eye examinations. Did you get those, Ms. Shope?
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll follow that through for the 3 policies that are being collapsed into our main one. Okay, so that brings us to policy 453.6, Rule 1. Board Member Schneider, any edits or questions?
I have nothing.
Okay. I have a couple, just for clarification. So again, that, excuse me. The title is going to be the header, and then we go into capital A. And it's the responsibilities, excuse me, the responsibilities of director of school health or designee. Number 3 under A is organize and maintain the vision and hearing screening equipment and related supplies. Do we house or own that equipment, or is that just when we have, like when Lions comes in, we help them with that?
No, we have our own.
Okay. Good to know. Hold on, I'm trying to read my own note. In collaboration with school nurse, with coordinate with outsourced resources for mass vision and hearing screening. Since we're merging those, that's already captured in policy 453.6. Do you want to duplicate that for emphasis, or are we okay with removing number 5?
We can remove 5.
Okay. And then 7, include final vision and hearing screening data in the annual report. What's the annual report that's being referenced?
Well, there's 2 different annual reports. For one annual report, we report to the Wisconsin Prevent Blindness Organization, and then I also provide a report to my direct supervisor at the end of the school year.
Okay. Is it okay if we pick that, but what's the name of that first one? I don't think we need to reference an internal report that goes to your supervisor, but that first one, could you repeat that again?
Yeah, a Wisconsin Prevent Blindness.
Okay. Are we okay with specifying include final vision and hearing screening data and then if you could just repeat that again for Ms. Shope. Does anyone object to listing the report?
Oh, Wisconsin Prevent Blindness.
Wisconsin Prevent Blindness? Okay. No problem. Data in the Wisconsin Prevent Blindness Annual Report. Is that accurate? Mm-hmm. Perfect. And then C, responsibilities of school nurse, if we can do her, his, their. I'm listening. Oh, C1. Yep, responsibilities of the school nurse. All right, look at us. Is there a motion to approve policy 453.5 as amended and move forward to the full board for a first reading, and to retire policies 453.5 Rule 1, policy 453.6, and 453.6 Rule 1?
So moved.
All right, second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. That motion passes unanimously. That brings us to our final two motions for the evening. Look at us. So let me start off. Is anyone opposed to merging policy 453.7 and Rule 1? All right. I'm going to take that silence as we're okay with that. Board Member Schneider, what is currently 453.7? Do you have any questions or edits?
I do not.
Okay. So I read it and I had one thought, and then I went, let me just walk you through my thought process, and hopefully it'll make sense. All right. What I am looking at in policy 453.7 is the last sentence of the first paragraph. In order to provide, for everyone playing at home, the title is Relations with Non-School Agency Nursing Personnel. The last sentence reads, in order to provide clarity of roles, a memorandum of understanding will be reviewed and signed between the director of school health or designee and the parent, as well as the director of school health and the non-school agency nursing personnel. All right, I have all kind of questions about this. First of all, MOUs, in my understanding, are between entities, not between two positions. So you may be the person signing off on it, but it's for the school district of Beloit, not for the director of school health. And I have never heard of an MOU agreement that has parental signatures in the MOU, which led me to believe, because when something doesn't make sense, I think, okay, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Is this really referring to an MOU or for release of information forms?
No, it's not really some information form, but if we have an MOU that's going to dictate what cares or anything like that, I mean, I feel like the parent should probably review that just in case there's anything in there that they don't agree with or they want to object to.
No. Parents should absolutely be able to review the MOUs, but we're not holding up MOUs for parent signature because
Sure,
those
sure.
are agreements between entities. So this is not referring to a release of information form.
No.
Okay, perfect. Then this should say, in order to provide clarity of roles, a memorandum of understanding will be reviewed and signed between the school district of Beloit and the non-school agency providing nursing care, or however you want to word that. Does anyone object to that? Do you have a different understanding of how that MOU language should be stated? All right, so I just need help with the second part, but Ms. Shope, this will read, in order to provide clarity of roles, a memorandum of understanding will be reviewed and signed between the school district of Beloit and the non-school agency providing nursing care. Is that appropriate?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need me to repeat anything, Ms. Shope?
No.
Oh, nursing services is what I had in my note. Does anyone, let's go with nursing services. And then what we could do as a second sentence is saying parents/guardians will be made aware of any such agreements. Does that capture the spirit of what we want to have happen? All right. Again, Ms. Shope, do you need me to repeat anything?
So the parents and/or guardians will be notified of such agreements.
Yep, one last time. In order to provide clarity of roles, a memorandum of understanding will be reviewed and signed between the school district of Beloit and the non-school agency providing nursing services. Parents/guardians will be made aware of any such agreements. Everybody good? All right, awesome. That takes us to our last portion of policy for the evening. Board Member Schneider, any questions or edits on 453.7 Rule 1?
I have none.
Okay. Just a couple things. So again, this title, Guidelines for Cooperative Working Relationships Between Non-School Agency Nursing Personnel and School District of Beloit Staff, will become the header for this section in the edited policy. The first sentence, staff from non-school medical community agencies who work within the school district of Beloit are asked to comply. Is that a ask or is that a requirement? Because it goes into like confidentiality and things that we want. Is that really a ask?
It's a requirement.
Okay, so if we can change, are required to comply with the following procedural guidelines. And actually, my apologies, I got lost in my own notes. I think it would flow better if we took what is currently number 1. Actually, I think we should get rid of all the numbers. We're gonna keep all the content, but get rid of all the numbers. But what is currently number 1, because it's very like, it's not a checklist where we would have numbers, it's just these are the things you need to be aware of. So number 1 would actually start the policy. And then what is currently staff from non-school medical community agencies, that would fall under what is currently number 1, and then we'll change asked to comply with are required to comply. And then I think we just go into the content in 2, 3, 4, 5, but it didn't make sense because it's not saying are asked to comply with the following things, it's just giving the information. Does that make sense to everyone? And does anyone object to that?
I mean, no, because the way, so you're gonna move this number 1 to the beginning.
Number 1 to the beginning.
That means, so the staff from non-school medical community is the second part?
Goes right up under what is currently number 1, and the only thing we're changing is asked to required.
Yeah.
And then we flow into the information that's currently listed in 2 through 5, it's just not numbered.
That's fine.
Is everyone okay with that? Ms. Shope, do you need me to repeat anything? Okay, look at us. All right, is there a motion to approve policy 453.7 as amended to the full board for a first reading and to retire policy 453.7 rule 1?
So moved.
Second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that motion passes unanimously. All right, that brings us to next meeting dates. And I don't have my calendar in front of me. Does someone have our March date up?
Wednesday the 6th. It's Wednesday the 6th.
Wednesday the 6th. Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Garrison. All right, so we will meet next on Wednesday, May 6th at 5:30.
March 6th.
March, I have
Jump 2 months.
taken us to May for some reason. My apologies. Not yet. That brings us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. Is 6